In the 90s, New York hip-hop became the soul anthem for many individuals growing up in inner black cities and America, as hip-hop, originally created by black people for black people, became an outlet for addressing real-life struggles such as poverty, police brutality, and racial discrimination. As the genre progressed, artists started to perform at public venues for money and make money from selling their mixtapes, and suddenly, hip-hop became in demand. But just like everything the black man creates, the white man finds it his problem to regulate their behavior and control their earnings. Now, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani demonized the hip-hop nightlife scene and pushed for club raids and extensive stop and frisk to make New York City a quote-unquote safer place. Rudy Giuliani ran the 5 boroughs with an iron fist, cutting into crime using racialized over-policing and regulation of noise in nightlife that led to several clubs being permanently shut down. Giuliani became public enemy number 1 for New York City, as hip-hop artists like Jay-Z, Biggie, and Nas viewed him as the most racist and discriminative leader of our time. But before Giuliani was shelving rappers' careers and single-handedly disrupting the livelihood of the black community, Giuliani was a key prosecutor that influenced the sentencing of 3 of the biggest Italian mob bosses in New York City, John Gotti, Anthony Casso, and Vincent Gigante, to life in prison. And it all started with the conviction of the major Wall Street insider trader. Mayor Giuliani began his legal career in 1969 and quickly gained recognition for his high-profile cases, such as the prosecution of Wall Street insider trader Ivan Boesky. Ivan was a prominent Wall Street trader who was implicated in one of the biggest insider trading scandals in American history. In 1986, he pled guilty to insider trading and was forced to pay a record-breaking $100 million in penalties and fines. The case was prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, where Giuliani was serving at the time. The same office, known for convicting 6 9 and Treyway, as well as Bobby Shmurda and GS9 in the last decade. Boesky had built a reputation as a successful investor who amassed a large fortune by making shrewd investments in the stock market. However, it was later revealed that he'd been using illegal insider information to make some of his trades. Illegal insider trader info obtained from Dennis Levine, a fellow Wall Street trader who was also implicated in the illegal trading scandal. Giuliani's intense investigation caught Boesky, which compelled him to cooperate with the government in exchange for a reduced sentence. Boesky provided info led to indictments and convictions of several investment bankers and traders, such as Michael Milken, the head of junk bond departments at Drexel Burnham Lampert, a prominent investment bank known for its expertise in high-yield bonds. The firm was involved in many lawsuits, and with authoritative power of Giuliani, they went bankrupt in 1990. John Gotti, the head crime boss of the Gambino crime family, one of the 5 Italian Mafia families, was indicted 3 times and was acquitted of all charges, as he was crowned Teflon Don, as none of the charges would stick. The first indictment came in 1984 when Gotti was charged with the murder of Paul Castellano, the former boss of the Gambino crime family that Gotti had killed, so he became the boss of the Gambino family, as Gotti and Paul Castellano were having major disagreements. Since the hit was carried out by low-ranking members, the prosecution couldn't directly connect it to Gotti, as he was acquitted in 1987 for all charges. Although it was later revealed in the court testimony by Sammy the Bull, his right-hand man, that Gotti sent the hit. Following the acquittal in 1987, Gotti got charged with racketeering, and a year later, he was acquitted. Now finally, for the Giuliani administration, the 3rd time was a charm. As 3rd indictment in 1990, Gotti was charged with extortion, murder, racketeering, and other crimes. John Gotti was found guilty of all charges in 1992, and due to the crucial Sammy the Bull testimony that they were on the street in a parked car watching the assassination happen, John Gotti was sentenced to life in prison without parole, and John Gotti later died of throat cancer in the year 2002. Moving on to the Lucchese family, Anthony Gaspipe Casso was a high-ranking member of the Lucchese crime family, known for his extortion and involvement in numerous criminal activities. He was actually implicated in the murder of at least 36 people, which included torture and dismemberment. In 1993, Casso was indicted on multiple charges, such as conspiracy to commit murder and other racketeer-related charges. Initially, he went on the run for over a year, becoming one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives, but he was captured in 1994 in Montenegro, a small country in Europe, in which he cooperated with the US government, giving up info on other members of the Lucchese family. Despite his cooperation, Casso was sentenced to life in prison in 1998 and died in federal prison in 2020. Michael Franzcese, a well-known mobster of the Columbia family, spoke on why the Mafia never killed Rudy Giuliani.
Okay, and Giuliani really went after the Mafia hard in New York.
Yes.
And, we talked about how in Italy they would kill cops and, politicians and that type of thing, but that was frowned upon in America. But you said at one point you guys were actually considering killing Giuliani.
The conversation was brought up, yes, and it was brought up by Persico. And there were 2 people that normally you'd have hands off on that I knew there was conversations about taking them out. One was Giuliani, and the other was Geraldo Rivera. He just wasn't liked on the street, and there was talk about taking him out at one point. Now, I told Geraldo this. He got scared when I told him too, but it was later on. But yeah, there was talk about taking Giuliani out.
Vincent the Chin Gigante was a crime boss of the Genovese crime family, known for his eccentric behavior. In the late 80s and early 90s, the FBI launched an investigation primarily focused on large-scale drug trafficking operations. Over the course of several years, the FBI gathered information against Gigante and associates, including wiretaps, surveillance footage, and key witness testimonies. In '96, with the immense pressures of Giuliani, Vincent the Chin Gigante was convicted of racketeering conspiracy and drug trafficking, and despite Gigante's attempt to portray himself as ill and unfit to stand trial, he was sentenced to 12 years in prison and died in 2005. After Giuliani cleared the streets of white-collar criminals like Ivan Boesky, he moved on to Italian mobsters like John Gotti. After clearing the streets of New York, he moved on to disturbing the innocent hip-hop rappers hustling and rapping for a living. Rudolph Giuliani served as mayor of New York City from 1994 until 2001, with the goal of cracking down on crime, and which he implemented stop-and-frisk policies, which allowed officers to stop, question, and search individuals if they had a reasonable suspicion that they have committed a crime or were about to. As you can imagine, this policy disproportionately targeted members of the black and brown community. The unlawful search was based on prejudice and racial bias decisions that really physically hurt the black community in hip-hop. Rudy Giuliani ran the 5 boroughs with an iron fist by cutting into crime using racialized over-policing and regulating noise and nightlife. Giuliani launched his Quality of Life campaign that aimed to crack down on crime, improving the safety of New York citizens. As hip-hop was still a fairly new genre, that artists were being compensated for their performances. The Quality of Life campaign was responsible for multiple clubs getting shut down, such as the Tunnel and the Palladium. The Tunnel was a popular nightclub founded by Peter Gattian in the Chelsea neighborhood of Manhattan, known for their hip-hop Sundays, where some of the biggest names such as Jay-Z, Lil Kim and Diddy came to perform. Gattian owned 4 nightclubs, particularly the Tunnel and the Palladium, and those clubs gained a reputation for drug sales as robberies and violence often occurred in the unisex bathroom. As a result, the Tunnel was forced to shut down in 2001. Due to drug trafficking allegations and convictions of tax evasion that resulted in Peter Gattian and his family being deported back to Canada. In '97, the Palladium, located in Union Square, hosted many music events. It was shut down after being sued by Giuliani's administration for violating noise and fire codes. Giuliani was so strict with his policies that he had the Cabaret Law and the Broken Windows policy. The Cabaret Law required bars, nightclubs, and other venues to have a special license to allow singing and dancing. Yes, dancing. The law was selectively enforced to target popular venues of people of color. Not only was the administration strict on giving cabaret license, it enforced many police raids that annoyed clubgoers and inclined them to stop going. Giuliani used zoning laws to squeeze strip clubs and adult stores out of residential areas, as well as employing draconian laws such as banning dancing in clubs to curb and flatline drinking. So it almost didn't matter if you did have a license or not, because you could still get shut down from a police raid. Hip-hop artists could not make any money. Anyone that wanted to perform was over-policed. They couldn't dance, drink, or congregate in large amounts, so in the consumer's eyes, what's one of us going if we can't indulge in pleasure via singing, dancing, or alcohol? This shunned many young artists such as Biggie and Jay-Z, who were snubbed from many live performances. On Biggie's song Everyday Struggle, he spoke on Giuliani. I'm seeing body after body, and I married Giuliani, ain't trying to see no man turn into John Gotti. And then Jadakiss from The Lox also spoke on Giuliani. Giuliani might as well be murking niggas, cause the time he's giving out is hurting niggas. Giuliani quickly became public enemy #1 for everyone, from the mobsters, the rappers, the white-collar workers, and although crime was reduced during his 8-year run, it was at the cost of the livelihood of hip-hop culture. As at that time, the performance aspect of hip-hop was not as beneficial, as Giuliani was purposely preventing artists from exploring their talent. Now, Jay-Z and Nas, 2 of hip-hop's most prominent artists, criticized Giuliani in their music. On the Jay-Z song Do You Wanna Ride, he said, "Giuliani had me feeling like a villain, the way he was treating civilians." And Nas also criticized him on the song Zone Out from Street Disciples. Giuliani had the city on tilt, poor baby suffering, police brutality, homie it's real. Rappers were very expressive with their discomfort from the Giuliani administration. The enforcement of Giuliani's team dropped crime in certain areas. The over-policing targeted the black community more than any other racial group, putting us at a major disadvantage. Black artists couldn't go anywhere with a chance of them being stopped and frisked, or go into any clubs and drink and dance to any music, as the Cabaret Law prevented it all. The broken window policy allowed police to abuse citizens for petty crimes such as graffiti, breaking windows, and littering. This mixed with a stop and frisk was a recipe for disaster. The policy was controversial as unfairly targeted low-income minority communities who were often subjected to aggressive policing for minor offenses. Giuliani was a major driving force of attacking and shutting down hip-hop, a genre that was really starting to expand in every major American city during this time. From indicting mob bosses, insider traders, and placing the hold on the careers from some of our greatest rappers, it's important to note that in the 50th year of hip-hop, we have to acknowledge the trials and tribulations the artists went through to be heard, and why Rudolph Giuliani became hip-hop's biggest enemy, particularly in New York City.